The NightStorm Project will cover 3 decades of free parties through a series of short stories and podcasts, and more detail will unfold throughout the series. That said, let's get on with the show. So we left Rats Run Longstock and headed off to Peasedown St John. We knew some of the travellers from the convoy were headed there, and we found out later they were from Oxford. Anyway, we arrived at Peasedown area to roadblocks everywhere. There's a myriad of roads that feed into where the party was, and we tried them all. There were several. Somehow I think I went through a field into another road, and we come out directly behind a roadblock. We didn't really have any chance other than to go through it. Anyway, we thought we'd go off and have something to eat, and it was about tea time as it happened. Jock, the person who was telling me about the whole rave experience when we were at Chipping Sodbury, appeared at the van door. It was a bit amazing the people you meet out in the sticks. I met Joe Strummer once out in the wilds of Somerset and pointed him to a party at Sturt Beach. A few people might remember that. Anyway, after dinner we set off back to the roadblock that we'd driven through, ready with a good blag that why we needed to get back in. So when we get there we find out there's been a shift change, making it difficult. We were trying to convince them that we'd been out and we were coming back, and then another copper came over and said he'd seen us drive out, which was a stroke of luck, so they let us in. We got some cheers as well as we drove in. We parked up not too far from the Circus Walk tent, so it was quite a good position for a late arrival. The Oxford travellers made it in using the same tactics as Longstock, I understand. And so we're in. Peasedown St John, or as some people would like to call it, Peacedown St John. It's a big rave site. It's in a large field, basically. The Circus Walk tents up. There's masses of people, cars and vehicles all over. Quite a sort of squarish sort of shaped field. And it's packed with people, packed with cars and vehicles and stuff. Loads of room, loads of people. I don't have any pictures of it, only memories, so I've got the AI to reconstruct it near enough. There are some videos of it about. One thing we did notice at night again, it was dark, and when we opened the door, the light shone out, and people were attracted to the light, not to buy drinks and at this time, but to use the light. They wanted to get stuff out of their pockets and count and look and check change and check other things, you can imagine. It was quite comical to watch. We met people where they popped in, "Can we use your light a moment?" and they might roll something or be sorting something out, and off they would go. We'd have a little chat. It was quite fun, actually. The party was rammed, buzzing, loads of people. It had a acid house feel to it. The night was warm, I remember. That's why we opened the door. It was so warm, really. The atmosphere was electric. It's great. We had a good time. We did go out and do some dancing. I think we might have taken turns. Memories. Hard to come by after 35 years. Here's a treat. I have an exclusive interview with Rob Vega of the Universe Dance Parties, aka Brainstorm, and he's going to tell us about Peasedown. And this is straight from the horse's mouth, or shall we say monkey, the drunken monkey. Here we go. Over to you, Rob.
So, Gypsy and Marty, some traveller friends of mine living in a caravan, they told me about this field that they'd stayed in, just south of Peasedown St John. No, actually, it was north, if you look at the map. But it was downhill, so it felt like south. But they said it'd be good for a party. They knew I was doing warehouse parties and the guys Brainstorm. And I said, all right, well, I know some people. So I got in touch with Circus Walk. And they came down and sussed it out. And they in turn got in touch with Sweat Sound System. And they brought their marquee down and set up a sound system. We converged on Peasedown St John. We had a little bit to do with the decor, I believe, with my mate Ian, who did my bit of my environment and stuff for Brainstorm at the time. And
yeah, it was a good party. It was had an acid house feel to it. I quite like that. I like all the fluorescent stuff. Sad to see that go. We liked it up.
Yeah, turned out to be quite a mad world affair with all sorts of different types. Just sort of was a lot of traveller types are sort of crossing over and getting into rave. Yeah, I remember there was coppers in the hedges taking pictures, and there's obligatory helicopters above, obviously. And I remember Metcalf, he sussed out some copper in the hedges taking pictures. And yeah, so a bit of a blur, like most of those parties were at the time, but it certainly was a good one. And quite 3-day at a time was pretty rare. All right. So what else did you ask me about? Talk about
Of the 35-year anniversary of Torpedo Town's coming up. I think it's August, so I want to do a special on that. You got a story about that too, so I was hoping you could.
Oh, I know. When I first met Spiral Tribe and Torpedo Town. I'll follow that up. All right.
Great story, Rob. Thanks for taking part in the History Project. That was a sort of first weekend of ours, and there's a lot more to come. Like, subscribe, and comment. Wow, what a weekend. 2 major parties that launched us into 3 decades of free-party raving. The Circus Walk tent was mentioned in this video and the one before, and I want to talk about that, and we'll have a talk about that next. Okay, I'm going to work on the next chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment, okay?